Welcome. Check it out, you guys. This beautiful smock stitch made in diagonal. This is, of course, the wonderful knit look Tunisian crochet. And I just made this simple piece into a cowl to show you the simplicity, but also the beauty of this stitch, especially when it's worked in a wonderful color scheme like these Red Heart Granny Square yarns that are out right now. Some places still have them, some don't, but this particular color is called Soft White Frigid. If you like this color scheme, it is a size 4 medium ply yarn, acrylic, and for this pattern I used a 7mm bamboo crochet Afghan hook, and we're going to also be needing a couple of stitch markers to keep track of what we're doing so that we know where to place our stitch marker on the following rows. So if you're ready to get started, we'll also need a little needle for sewing. Go ahead and grab your supplies, and I will see you in just 1 second. We're going to start with a chain of 2. Single crochet in the back bump of the first chain. We're going to make our first right side increase. Insert your hook into the smaller of these 2 loops right here. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Now we're going to make our left side increase. This first one is going to be right here through the tail, but this is considered an end loop. So insert your hook underneath that first end loop. Yarn over and pull up. And then you're going to insert your hook underneath both end loops. Yarn over and pull up a loop. You need to create a little bit of ease at the end of each row prior to closing the row. So just hold your finger on that last loop, lift up a tiny bit, and we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Now our foundation is finished, and we have our 2 end loops over here. And let's just go ahead and mark those so that it is clearer for you to see where to place the hook next time. So we're going to make our right side increase again. We're going to right side and left side increase on each row until it's time for a decrease. So yarn over and pull up a loop after you insert it in your first little loop there. For this first row, we're going to, with yarn in front, place your forefinger on top like that and hold it. Insert your hook underneath both of those loops, or I should say vertical bars. Yarn over and pull up. And now we're ready for our left side increase. With the yarn in front, like before, insert your hook into the first end loop, yarn over and pull up. Insert your hook underneath both end loops, yarn over and pull up. And you now have 7 loops on your hook. Remember to create your ease by lifting up just a tiny bit on that last loop and yarn over and pull through 2 loops, back to the beginning of the row. All right, so now we're ready to do row 2. We're going to make our right side increase. Insert your hook in the smaller of those 2 loops there from the hook. Yarn over and pull up. Now, as you can see, we have a tiny little front first vertical bar right here. You're always going to skip that from now on. Wrap your yarn in front as before, skip that first vertical bar, and insert your hook underneath the next 2 vertical bars. Yarn over and pull up. Repeat that, where we're going to forefinger in front, just like that. Yarn over and pull up a loop. And now we're ready for our left side increase. Yarn over, insert your hook underneath that first end loop, yarn over and pull up, and then just insert your hook underneath both end loops, yarn over and pull up. And this is what your item should look like. We're going to close as normal, creating our little bit of ease there, yarn over and pull through 2 loops back to the beginning of the row. And we're going to repeat this process. Let's repeat row 2 again. We're going to make our right side increase, holding your yarn in front with your finger. Skip the first vertical bar, insert your hook underneath the next 2 vertical bars. Yarn over and pull up. Keep repeating row 2 until your item is the width you want it this way. And then we'll be ready for the first decrease. So we can see the stripes are forming, and I almost am out of room here on my hook, so I'm just going to go ahead and get ready for the decrease. But before we do that, let's let me get my yarn straightened up here. We're going to just do our close as normal until we get to the last 3 loops. So creating your little bit of ease there, go ahead and yarn over and pull through 2 loops continually until the last 3. All right, so we have the last 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3. And then we're going to single crochet in these 2 loops right here. Not your end loop, but the 2 that are left over. And we're going to continue our stitch pattern just like we normally would. So we have our first little vertical bar there we're going to skip. So with your yarn in front, as normal, proceed with the stitch pattern just as before. So that is our first right side decrease. You can decrease from the left side, but today I'm only demonstrating it from the right side. Sorry, I didn't realize that was so bright. And as far as the left side is concerned, we're just going to keep making our increases on the left side to keep creating the length that we want. So I'll meet you right back down here where we will go through the decrease one more time before we just continue with the stitch pattern. So we're back to square one where we're getting ready to make our next decrease. So we're going to yarn over, pull through all 3 loops as usual, except we're not going to be single crocheting in the free loop this time. Or the 2 free loops, because our corner is already made. So from here, we're just going to follow the stitch pattern. So with finger in front. And you can see if you are making your rows correctly by just lining that up like that. And you see everything's nice and lined up. You know, sometimes when you're first starting out making Tunisian crochet this way, it's a little challenging to know exactly where to place your hook. But once you get going, it's pretty simple. And so just keep going in this manner, making your left side increases on the left edge and making your right side decreases on the right edge. So let's see what this looks like in just a few minutes. Now my item is almost where I want it to be as far as length is concerned. So I'm just going to go through this close so you can see up close one more time. And once again, this is the right side decrease. And so we have our last 3 loops. We're going to yarn over and pull through. With your finger in front, you're going to skip the first 3 bars, 1, 2, 3, and then come over into the 4th and 5th. Yarn over and pull up a loop. And we're going to work this all the way to the end so that we can do our left side decrease. So we'll be doing that here in just a second. Okay, so on this left side decrease for this first one, we're just going to do our normal 4 finger in front and then yarn over through the next 2. And we're going to, with 4 finger in front, we're just going to insert our hook underneath both loops this time. Instead of one and then the other, it's going to be both at the same time. Just like that. Extend your ease, make your ease there, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops just like this. And we're going to mark our end loops, which are right here. And this way it makes it much easier to come in and see what you're doing the next time, okay? So let's just go back through. We've made our first left side decrease. But stick with me because the next one will be slightly different. So go ahead and go finish crocheting, and I'll meet you right back here, and then we'll proceed with the next left side decrease. So we're back to the beginning of the row where we need to make another right side decrease. And we're going to make this right side decrease the same from here on out. The left side one we're going to do differently for one more row, and then that one will be, you'll do the same for each one after this. So we're going to close our row one more time. And remember, skip the first, second, and third bars with your yarn in front, insert your hook under the next fourth and fifth bar. And you're going to continue this until we get back over to our end right here. Okay, so I'll see you right over here. Okay, so we're back down to the end where we have our first left side decrease, and we're just going to, excuse me, yarn over in the front like this, like we normally have been doing, and then insert your hook under the next two loops, yarn over and pull up a loop. And then we're going to, with our forefinger in front, yarn over and insert your hook into that last little loop and both end loops. So you're going to have 3 loops that you're yarning through. Yarn over and pull up your loop. And from here, you're going to close your row now, yarn over and pull through 2 loops just like we normally do. But what you want to do is remove your stitch marker and put it in the next set of end loops so that when you come back over, it's easier to find out where you need to place your hook, because it can be confusing when you're first starting, you know, if you put it here or there or wherever. But this way, you know for sure when you get back over here, this last little loop and those 2 end loops is where you're going to place your hook. And then just continue to close the row as normal, making your right side decrease when you get over here. And then when you get back to over here, you'll do your left side decrease just like we did just now. So let's continue, and we're going to close the gap so that we don't have a gap right here. So we're going to build this up to where it matches nice and evenly by doing this. All right, so let's continue that way and let's see how it looks in just a few minutes. Okay, let's work the last part together. Now, right here, we're not going to have an extra little piece of thread. Now, you can chain 1 from here. and then pull your yarn through. Oops. And then we're going to come into this marked stitch right here, just like this. The tail's a little bit long. There we go. And then back in through the chain one. And now you have a nicer corner rather than just rounding it off as the, as the normal close that we would do at the on the right side decrease. So we're all finished. And so the next step from here is going to be to sew it together if you want to make a cowl. So let's do that really quick. Okay, so I have my end loops from each side marked together. That way I know exactly where I'm starting and or stopping. And then I have my yarn needle threaded, double threaded here, and just with a little bit hanging in like that and a long tail. And I'm just going to sew through these loops here, just regular, easy, beginner style loops, or I should say stitches. This is like probably longer than I need it to be, which is okay, that's fine. And I'm just going to go around. Make sure that you're catching the right, I shouldn't say the right, but the correct loops, meaning the same loops in the same order each time. And there are a lot of different ways to sew things together. So you can use whatever method you prefer. And let's see what this is going to look like in just a sec. All right, it's all sewn together and we're kind of left with like a little bit of a gap right here maybe. So it's not really too noticeable, but let's close it up just to make it look that much better. And so I just snip my little double yarn here and we're just going to use one of these. Thread your needle. And then hold your item up like this. And we're going to take our yarn needle and put it right through there, just like that. Bring it through. And then back in through the stitch right next to that. And then back down into, you can do it into this stitch, but you can also do it into the other one. That way, if you come along with your yarn needle, your crochet hook, you can crochet into that loop, or you can do it this other way. Hold on here, let me take that out. And then just come back through this loop right here. And that makes it much easier to crochet a border in. And go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. All right, you guys, we have reached the conclusion. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. Leave them down below. And I'll chit chat with you in the very near future.